Introduction. Adolf Hitler, the dictator of Nazi Germany from 1933 to 1945, remains one of history's most infamous figures. His reign was marked by war, genocide, and mass brutality, leading to the deaths of millions. This document explores his rise to power, the oppressive policies of the Nazi regime, the Holocaust, war crimes, and his eventual downfall. Early life and rise to power. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20, 1889, in Braunau am Inn, Austria-Hungary. His early life was marked by an authoritarian father, Alois Hitler, and a caring yet passive mother, Clara Hitler. From a young age, Hitler displayed an interest in art, but his aspirations were thwarted when he failed the entrance exam for the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna. His rejection fueled resentment and radical beliefs, especially against Jews, whom he later blamed for his failures. Living in Vienna as a struggling artist, Hitler was exposed to nationalist and anti-Semitic ideologies, which heavily influenced his worldview. When World War I broke out in 1914, he eagerly enlisted in the German army. He served as a messenger and was awarded the Iron Cross for bravery. However, Germany's defeat in 1918 devastated him. Like many right-wing nationalists, he believed that Germany had been stabbed in the back by Jews and communists. In 1919, Hitler joined the German Workers' Party, which he later transformed into the National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDAP or Nazi Party. His ability to deliver passionate speeches drew widespread support. The failed beer hall putsch in 1923, an attempted coup in Munich, led to his imprisonment. During his time in prison, he wrote Mein Kampf, outlining his ideology of Aryan supremacy, anti-Semitism, and territorial expansion. The Nazi regime and totalitarian control Hitler's rise to power was swift and methodical. In 1933, he was appointed Chancellor of Germany. He quickly moved to consolidate his power through propaganda, violence, and legislative control. Suppression of opposition. The Reichstag fire in February 1933 was used as a pretext to eliminate political rivals, particularly communists. The Enabling Act granted Hitler dictatorial powers, allowing him to bypass the parliament and rule by decree. Political opponents, including socialists, communists, and dissidents, were arrested or executed. The Gestapo and SS ruthlessly suppressed dissent, propaganda, and indoctrination. The Ministry of Propaganda, led by Joseph Goebbels, controlled media, art, and education to spread Nazi ideology. School curricula were revised to teach children loyalty to Hitler and reinforce anti-Semitic beliefs. Mass rallies, films, and newspapers glorified Hitler and portrayed Jews as enemies of the state. Militarization and expansionism. Hitler defied the Treaty of Versailles by rebuilding Germany's military. He pursued aggressive territorial expansion, leading to the annexation of Austria, Anschluss, in 1938, and the occupation of Czechoslovakia. In 1939, he signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact with the Soviet Union, ensuring a temporary non-aggression agreement before launching World War II. Third, the Holocaust and genocide. One of Hitler's most heinous crimes was the Holocaust, the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews and millions of others deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime. Ghettos and deportations. Jews were forcibly relocated to ghettos in cities like Warsaw and Lodz, suffering starvation, disease, and forced labor. Deported en masse to concentration camps, families were torn apart. Concentration and death camps. Extermination camps like Auschwitz, Treblinka, and Sobibor were designed for mass murder. Gas chambers, shootings, forced labor, and medical experiments led to millions of deaths. Einsatzgruppen massacres. Mobile killing squads, known as Einsatzgruppen, executed Jews, intellectuals, and Soviet prisoners of war in Eastern Europe. The Babi Yar massacre in Ukraine saw over 33,000 Jews murdered in just 2 days. Fourth World War II atrocities. Hitler's war strategies were brutal, resulting in widespread suffering and destruction. Blitzkrieg and occupation. Germany's invasion of Poland in 1939 marked the start of World War II. France fell to German forces in 1940, and Hitler's army advanced into the Soviet Union in 1941. The rapid military campaigns led to mass civilian casualties and widespread terror. Siege of Leningrad. A prolonged blockade by Nazi forces led to starvation and over 1 million civilian deaths in the Soviet city of Leningrad. Mass executions and slave labor. Millions of people from occupied countries were forced into slave labor. Intellectuals, resistance fighters, and civilians were executed in occupied territories. Brutality against civilians. Hitler's racial policies targeted Jews, Slavs, homosexuals, Jehovah's Witnesses, and other groups. Medical experiments. Nazi doctors conducted inhumane experiments, including sterilizations, endurance tests, and chemical testing. Kidnapping of children. Thousands of Polish and Eastern European children were abducted and raised as Germans if they met Aryan standards. Destruction of villages. Entire communities were massacred in retaliation against resistance movements, such as the destruction of Lithuania in Czechoslovakia. Sixth, downfall and death. By 1944, Germany was losing the war. Hitler's response was increased brutality, scorched earth policies, and execution of deserters. Failed assassination attempt. The July 20, 1944, plot led by Klaus von Stauffenberg attempted to assassinate Hitler, but failed, leading to brutal reprisals. Battle of Berlin. Soviet forces encircled Berlin, resulting in mass civilian and military casualties. Suicide in the bunker. On April 30, 1945, Hitler and Eva Braun committed suicide in the Führerbunker as Soviet troops entered Berlin. Conclusion: Hitler's reign of terror left an indelible mark on history. His ideology of hatred and his totalitarian rule led to the deaths of millions. The lessons of his crimes serve as a warning against totalitarianism, racism, and unchecked power. The world must remember these atrocities to prevent history from repeating itself.